Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40k universe. I am your host Gersh1 and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue to show love to the Thousand Suns as we get into the Rubric Marines. If you guys have any suggestions for Trader Marines, Renegade chapters, anything like that you guys would like us to create a video for, please comment down below. Put suggestion followed by the topic. We're tallying them all up and creating videos for them throughout the week. So please comment down below. Let's get into 40 facts about the Rubric Marines. Rubric Marines, also known by the High Gothic term Rubricae, are the spectral remnants of those Astartes of the Thousand Suns Legion who are now trapped within their suits of ancient power armor as mindless automatons. The tale of how the Rubric Marines came upon their unique fate is a twisted one. It has its beginnings in the time when the Emperor's Primarchs were mysteriously scattered from their incubation upon Terra. The one who would be called Magnus came to rest upon the remote colony world of Prospero. He could hardly have been more fortunate. Magnus was a ruddy-skinned mutant who would have been feared and most probably slaughtered had he arrived at any other world in the Imperium. Instead, he was delivered upon a hidden planet of kindred spirits, because as fortune would have it, a commune of outcast human psychers had settled the planet of Prospero. Magnus quickly reached maturity, having grown into a giant in the psychic, intellectual, and physical sense. He lived in the lone city upon Prospero, which was nestled deep in the planet's ventral mountain range. Magnus too showed great psychic attributes. He did not just channel power from the Immaterium, but instead the Primarch could see into the very realm. Magnus the Red quickly went from adept to absolute master. The Emperor had perceived and recognized his prodigy through the warp, and made haste to find him. It was said that the two knew each other immediately, their minds having long since found each other across the Immaterium. The Emperor immediately granted Magnus command of the 15th Legion of Space Marines, the Thousand Suns. They had been created from his own genetic profile and thus far had already shown a strong tendency towards psychic mutation. The first thing Magnus did upon taking control over the Thousand Suns was to halt the flesh-cursed mutation that had swept through his ranks. Although finding the knowledge in the warp to achieve this cost Magnus an eye. Next, Magnus led the Thousand Suns to join the Great Crusade, the epic campaign that swept outward from Terra. It was the Emperor's plan to reclaim humanity's lost colonies and to establish a galaxy-wide empire. During the far-sweeping conflict, the Thousand Suns made extensive use of their psychic power. In battle, it was their way to avoid close combat, instead relying upon their sorcerous ways to carry the day. That the Thousand Suns accomplished their triumphs through deception as often as by strength of arms did not initially draw concern. Victory was victory after all. However, the further out the Emperor's new realm expanded, the more tenacious grew the opposition. More and more frequently, the legions of Space Marines would make planetfall and find not colonies of mankind eager to join the fold of the Imperium, but societies of mutants and psychers who violently opposed them. Many of those they encountered were enthralled to demonic forces of the warp. These new foes were granted powers that few could fail to notice were much akin to those widely used by the Thousand Suns and Magnus. Gradually it emerged that there were some amongst the Imperial Court that were suspicious of the Thousand Suns' methods. Throughout the fleeting Imperium, many called for the purging of the psychic mutations. To solve the growing dilemma, the Emperor himself convened a meeting on the planet of Nicaea to debate. This event would later be known by Imperial scholars as the Council of Nicaea. The Emperor made Magnus to cease the practice of sorcery and the pursuit of knowledge in the related field of arcane arts. It is said that the Cyclopean Primarch's face appeared as stone as he received his father's command. Magnus bowed, pleading that he and his legion would obey. Before the Horus Heresy, Magnus perceived the betrayal of War Master Horus and attempted to warn the Emperor, only to destroy the psychic defenses of Terra and the Webway project. It was said that the Emperor broke contact with Magnus's projected vision with such force that the psychic wards throughout the palace were filled with lightning and shattered. Magnus's warning was delivered but unheeded, and the Emperor directed Lemanrus to lead his Space Wolves to capture Magnus upon Prospero. Lemanrus and his legion were tricked by Horus into outright attacking the world of Prospero and rampaging through the cities Magnus had created. This became known as the Burning of Prospero. Following the burning of Prospero, during the opening days of the Horus heresy, the Thousand Sons settled upon a world prepared for them by their patron chaos god, Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways. Given the potent psychic heritage of the Primarch, it can be no surprise that the Thousand Sons Legion was always prone to mutation. Prior to the outbreak of the Horus heresy, stringent genetic purity checks and relentless discipline had kept mutation at bay, while the Astartes of the 15th Legion simultaneously developed their potent psychic powers. Having steeped themselves in the raw power of chaos, the Thousand Sons fell prey to the rampant and uncontrolled mutation they called the Flesh Change, to such an extent that the cabal of the Legion's senior librarians, led by the chief librarian, Azaric Ahriman, determined that something drastic must be done to save the Legion from complete dissolution. With the Legion's Primarch, Magnus the Red, retired to the highest tower of the City of Light on the planet of the Sorcerers, Ahriman and his cabal of like-minded chaos sorcerers set about enacting a mighty spell that would purge the Legion of mutation and impurity. Ahriman delved deeper into the pages of the Book of Magnus, a massive tome compiled by Magnus during the Great Crusade that was filled with the forbidden lore and knowledge of the warp from ancient forgotten days. Ahriman believed the Book of Magnus held the key to his legion's salvation. In the labyrinthian collection of formulas, incantations, and rites, Ahriman devised what he believed would be the beginning of a mighty arcane spell to undo all that had befallen his battle brothers, known as the Rubric of Ahriman. Ahriman and his cabal cast his Rubric, and the skies over the planet of sorcerers erupted into an etheric storm of unprecedented proportion. The spell brought was of such unimaginable power that even the demonic horrors fled before the roaring maelstrom. The planet of sorcerers was enveloped in an impenetrable storm of blue and yellow, forks of titanic energies arcing across the planet to strike down each of the Thousand Sons. All but Magnus in his tower and Ahriman's cabal of sorcerers had been scoured by the mighty Rubric. But when the storm receded, Ahriman saw the awful truth of what he had brought. Those that possessed the greatest psychic powers found their abilities augmented, and they arose from the lightning strikes as the most dangerous sorcerers in the galaxy. The majority of the Thousand Sons, however, had a much sinister fate. Instead of purging the flesh of ravaging mutation, each of the Thousand Sons had been transformed. The seals and joints of their power armor had been welded shut, and the body within turned to ashes. What remained was a suit of animated armor, inhabited by a captive specter, devoid of mutation, but of all independent will as well. The newly created Rubric Marines were living suits of ancient power armor, which still moved and functioned and can respond to order just like a sentient man, though they were now little more than automatons. The Thousand Sons sorcerers used these Rubric Marines as bodyguards and enforcers, as well as guardians for the great libraries and vaults of ancient scrolls established on the planet of the sorcerers. The Rubric Marines are quite excellent at the latter role, for they have no spark of curiosity left and are utterly loyal. If promised knowledge and an opportunity to enhance their psychic power, the sorcerers are willing to offer the service of their unliving warriors to others. In battle, the Thousand Sons Chaos Sorcerers enhance their weapons and those of their unliving bodyguards, their bolts blazing with baleful sorceress energies and exploding with sorceress blasts that burn the souls of their targets as much as they do physical damage. The suits of armor that had once been worn by a proud space marine from the Thousand Sons Legion could magically move and function thanks to the Rubric of Ahriman, but the mindless shell needs order to do so. They respond to the mental commands of a sorcerer, obeying him to the letter. Upon completion of their task, The sentience of the Rubric Marines will once again lapse. Without a sorcerer nearby to issue new directions, the Rubric Marines freeze in place, appearing, for all intents, as statues, mere displays of ancient power armor. The Thousand Sun sorcerers have many uses of the Rubric Marines. When they travel from the Eye of Terror in search of arcane knowledge or to acquire slaves to fuel their magical experiments, they take with them the silent, relentless warriors. They make excellent enforcers. In the midst of combat, something of their former selves returns. During such actions, the Rubric Marines are able to move with clarity and purpose for as long as the battle lasts. They are a formidable fighter and can shrug off horrendous wounds. There are countless reports of the Rubric Marines sustaining great rents in their armor, their breastplates blown apart by plasma blasts or run through with a power blade. The arcane powers that surround and animate the armor shell allows them to sustain the damage better than any being made of flesh and blood could ever manage. When the Rubric Marines fire their bolters, they do so with a special shell. Filled with rune-inscribed fury, the shells burn a blue-white contrail of flame, and hit with the ability to blast through power armor and shear their target's very soul. On the battlefield, while the automatons provide a solid bastion of firepower, the sorcerer himself is free to work with the incantations, sending out his own arcane doom bolts. As they are empty vessels, the Rubric Marines make excellent guardians. They will stand on guard for a day, weeks, months, years, or even centuries. Yet should any breach the ward of their sorceress master, they will lurch into action as if mere seconds had passed. The enchantments ensure that their armor never rusts or malfunctions, and that they do not suffer the weakness of flesh, having no need to ever eat or sleep. The Rubric Marines are also impossible to destroy, and only the total destruction of their power armor is enough to release the spirit trapped inside. An audible sigh, a cloud of dust escapes and drifts away into nothingness. How, or even if the Rubric Marines are reinforced, is a secret only the sorcerers of the Thousand Suns and Tzeentch himself know. It has been theorized that the sorcerers can use spells of reincarnation to reinstall those spirits freed by the destruction of their armored forms, rebinding them within a new tomb of power armor. Perhaps Ahriman himself has had his hand in recreating this infamous spell of old, for Ahriman remains the most powerful of the Thousand Sun sorcerers, and has been endlessly active since his banishment. Over the millennia, he has raided more magical knowledge and stolen more arcane scrolls than any other, his guarded hoard nearly as sizable as that of Magnus. However, they are sustained. The Rubric Marines remain relentless enemies of the Imperium, as they have been for nearly 10,000 years. As recent as the 998th year of the 41st millennium, furious battle erupted in the Twilight Realm of the Webway, as the Chaos Space Marines of the Thousand Suns Legion fight their way to within sight of the Black Library. Protected by the indomitable advance of their automaton Rubric Marines, the sorcerers wreak terrible havoc. Their leader, the Master Sorcerer Ahriman, is only stopped when the powerful force of Eldar Harlequins and allies from both Craftworld Ulthwé and Craftworld Lugnarth counterattack. Several major arteries of the Webway are choked with the dead before the warrior psychers of the Thousand Suns are driven from the secret path. The breach is runically sealed, but many neighboring sections of the Webway are lost to chaos forever. It could only be a matter of time before another such attack is launched. And those were 40 facts about the Rubric Marines. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are enjoying the Thousand Suns videos that we've been posting recently. If you have not checked out the Burning of Prospero story, please do that. It's pretty fresh on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to get more awesome Warhammer 40k lore. Please comment down below with any topics that you guys would like us to create. And I need you guys to do me a huge favor. Please hit the like button if you guys want to see more Chaos Legion videos. If you guys like this type of chaos, or us focus more on Chaos Legions, please hit a like on this video. And again, guys, thank you for everything. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.